The essence of the conflict today really is cars and people. That is the essence of the whole discussion. We can have a city that is very friendly to cars or a city that is very friendly to people. We cannot have both.
I'm here today with Enrique Peñalosa, the former mayor of Bogota, Colombia, the leading figures in the world in terms of actually accomplishing changes on the ground that have made life better for pedestrians. I mean, in many different ways in the cities, but his policies were really revolutionary in terms of rethinking the way transportation works in its relation to the city. You gave a talk this morning, and one of the things you said that was interesting was this idea, when you talk about transportation, the first thing you have to do is decide what you want.
Before we know what the ideal transport is, we have to know what kind of city we want. But in order to know what kind of a city we want, we have to know how do we want to live, really, because a city is really only a means to a way of life. The least of the least that a democratic society should have is public pedestrian space of great quality. Sidewalks, pedestrian streets, plazas, sports facilities, parks, even public transport or public libraries could be considered as public space as well.
So how did you decide for yourself?
We can see what cities have worked in the world. We have had cities for 5,000 years. We have had cars for only about 80 years or so in significant amounts. So for 5,000 years, all streets were for people, were pedestrian streets. A child could walk 10 blocks without any fear of being killed. We should have cities with a very large network of pedestrian-only streets, not the quaint little pedestrian street downtown here and there, but hundreds of kilometers of pedestrian streets where people could go ride bicycles, jog, just sit and read a newspaper on a bench without having cars going in front, look at people walking by. What we find more and more is that a good city is one city where people like to be out, and a city that is good for the most vulnerable citizens. I would say a city where you have many people in the street who are handicapped, who are old people, who are children by themselves.
Could you talk a little bit about your experience as a politician, in going through the process of implementing some of these changes?
What we try to do is to restrict car use, to create public transport, to do bicycle ways, and to create public space. We took the road network and created a bus system, what is called a bus rapid transit. You give exclusive lanes to the buses. Our system has a velocity and a capacity that is very similar to the best subways in the world. Clearly, this is possible because we give priority to public transport in the use of road space. So public good prevails over private transport. We created a very large bicycle network, a protected bicycle path network. A protected bicycle path is a symbol that a citizen on a $30 bicycle is equally important as one on a $30,000 car.
Your experience in Bogota was that bicycling went from, I think, fringe activity to carrying a real fraction of the transport.
When we started, bicycling was almost insignificant. 0 or 0.2% of the people in Bogota used to bicycle. And now, nearly 5% of the people, only after 6 years or so, we get almost 400,000 people bicycling every day.
After you put in these changes, and again, I should say that these are, for cities around the world, among the most significant changes in terms of moving away from cars and towards focus on pedestrians and bicycles and public transit, practically in any city I can think of, particularly in a short period of time. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what the public's mindset was beforehand and then afterwards.
There is always resistance to change, per se, and also all of these policies which have social content have conflicts between those who own cars, whose use we are going to restrict, and those who don't. People opposed very much, for example, we had to get rid of tens of thousands of parking bays which have been illegally carved out where there should be sidewalks. So we took tens of thousands of parking bays away and we made big sidewalks. And there was a huge outrage from shop owners, but then afterwards they realized how much life had improved, how the real estate prices had gone up, how crime had gone down, how they were selling more.
After you left, were these policies continued by your successors?
The mayors that have come afterwards have continued, and there is a huge population. It would be impossible, really, for someone to reverse these policies. And on the contrary, I think we will have to make them even more radical. Our dream is to totally ban car use during peak hours every day. In many countries, they have car-free days where they close off a few streets to cars during a day. But we close the whole 7 million inhabitant city to cars during one weekday, a Thursday. And this, again, is not only an experiment in environment or transport, but this is an exercise in social integration, because we get upper income people and lower income people, everybody going out to find public transport. We allow taxis also to operate that day, but most people use buses or ride bicycles. We show ourselves that it's possible to organize the city without private cars.
In addition to being mayor of Bogota, you've also been a visiting scholar at NYU. And you've lived in New York, and you said you have an apartment here in New York.
Yes, I love New York.
And I guess, we were just walking down the street before, and you were talking about some of the things that you would like to see and that you think make a lot of sense to do here. And it would be great to get some of your ideas on that.
I think what changes cities are things that are different. I will almost say crazy. New York, for example, could turn all Broadway into a pedestrian street, all the way from Tappan Zee Bridge to the tip of Manhattan. And if you don't want to turn the whole Broadway to a pedestrian, to take half of Broadway to a very large, giant sidewalk with bicycle ways, and at least on Sundays it could be closed off completely, so to allow people to access Central Park from different areas of Manhattan, for example.